I was taking numbers that are maybe a little bit different than yours, Dr. Conway, but roughly the same, that there is an imbalance among the two schools. The challenge is that I do think there should be efforts to close that gap and to bring kids of different backgrounds together. I think that would be healthier for Derby. But how you do it is very important. And if you do it in a way that does not provide people with options, essentially middle-class families, an incentive, something desirable, something in it for them, then it's possible that simply collapsing the two schools could result in some middle-class flight, which would not be good for the system as a whole. The other thing to consider is that, as Dr. Conway said, you're right at the tipping point there, where if you collapse the two schools into one system, then you would end up with two schools above 50% low income, which the research suggests is problematic. So then the question becomes, well, what can be done? And I have a couple of suggestions just to think about, to start a discussion. What a number of communities have done is basically a two-step process. The first is figure out a way to draw more middle-class families back into the public school system in Derby. And then secondly, to make sure that there's equity within the system as a whole. So we've seen in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and Raleigh, lots of different places, that it is possible to bring middle-class families back into public school systems through incentives. And what I would suggest is that you consider polling parents. Include parents who now use private school or parochial school. Include parents who now send their kids, live in Derby but send their kids to magnet schools in other communities. Find out, well, what sort of offering, what sort of magnet approach would get you interested in coming back to the Derby public schools. I've seen lots of examples. I cite one here at the elementary school level. There are Montessori programs in Hartford, located in tough neighborhoods, where there is a long line of white middle-class families that want to get into that school. I've seen it in lots of other places as well. And so Montessori is one option, but there could be others that would be attractive. That's why it's important to poll parents, rather than a couple people sitting in a room and saying, well, let's try an X magnet. It might make sense to get some data and find out what parents would like. The other thing is to consider building partnership between magnet schools, a magnet approach, and some well-regarded or prestigious institutions. So I work with the Pasadena Public Schools, and they have Caltech there. And a lot of middle-class families wouldn't even look at the Pasadena Public Schools because a lot of the schools had high levels of poverty. But if you say, this school is going to have a relationship with Caltech, suddenly, the wheels start spinning, and there's the possibility that families not now using the public schools would consider doing so. You obviously have lots of great resources here. I mean, you've got Yale nearby, GE, lots of interesting places that could create a magnet opportunity in a school like Irving that does not now